Hello and welcome to my video review on Transformers 1 Optimus Prime from Studio Series. Now here he is in his truck mode, and yes, I know it's been a while since my last review. I've been dealing with certain things, so I want to get back into it. I don't know how much I'm going to post, but if I want to, and I feel like it, you guys give me enough support, I will keep going. I have a plenty plethora of figures I can review here. There's no shortage of things I can review. I have so many figures I got from toy shows and toy stores and just online orders of newer figures. There's just a lot on a backlog that I could review, or even older mainline figures like Earthrise or Siege or something. There's a lot of stuff I can review. Now, the reason why I started to go with this guy is because this is one of the figures I really didn't think I was going to like that much. And honestly, it's really just brought me back in Transformers, like just bringing me back to my childhood days where I really enjoyed a figure. And this is one of those. It's just a really simple Optimus Prime. It's completely redesigned from a normal, but just feels so right. This is a Cybertronian mode done correctly. And honestly, I don't have any real complaints with this mode. Sure, his hands are sticking out, but you can't even tell because they just mold perfectly in with that color. Just the color distribution here works great. And honestly, it just looks fine. Detail-wise, it does have a lot of stuff going on here. And they did paint a little bit of more of a silver here on each one of these like off-white gray sections, which is one of the reasons why I almost wanted to pick up the Voyager, which I'm glad there was none in the store because I probably would have picked that one up over the Studio Series, which I'm glad I got this one more because this is definitely the better figure. It's got little taillights too, which is cool. So it does feel like an Optimus Prime. Now, for accessories here, we can store them. The first one, which is just the axe, it can go in here, and then there's two little tabs that go underneath these little shin guard pieces. You might have to just separate the legs a bit to get it in there, but it just goes in. Super simple, and that just stores. It doesn't look bad, doesn't stick out too much, kind of fills in that gap. So just storage. And then if you want to, you can add his little gun to it. And we just want to make sure it's going this way. Line those two tabs up. Wait, no, other way around. I always forget which way this goes. Line them up, and then we can tab that in. And there we go. Now we have these we can switch around. I like them backwards because they kind of look like boosters. And then this is my attack mode, I like to call it, where all the guns are facing forward. So we have more pew-pews in the front, and that is him all decked out in this mode. Now he rolls like really good, especially for just wheels. They all are pinned, so that probably explains it, but they're just plastic wheels, but they just rolls really good, which is awesome to see. You don't always get that with newer figures. Now for transforming this guy, there's really not much in this mode I can say other than it just is a cool redesign. You can just take all this accessory stuff off. Now, it is more interested in getting him into his vehicle mode from his robot, but I love starting in alt mode just because I like having the robot mode be more of a surprise. And I just like alt mode's transformation into a robot mode more anyway, usually. So, I will go over certain things that you might need to know for going back into this mode, and trust me, there's plenty of other reviews out there. If you're watching mine only, you have a problem. I'm not that best reviewer. I just do this for fun. I just like having a catalog of things I have reviewed. But transforming this guy here, you want to make sure you undo his arm or his hand from this little post here, just a softer plastic, and just undo it on both sides, because this is a little tricky. And there's also a tab that is on the arm that goes into that spot there, which is not painted and it's red that sticks out. It doesn't bother me that much, but I'm sure that would bother some people. But obviously you can't paint it because it'd probably look even worse because it would just keep getting paint chipped. But that's basically it for that section. And also, once you have this in this mode, you want to bend those knees just ever so slightly. That way it all lines up. And then we can just bring these legs down and then get them out of the way. This whole waist section is on a hinge here, so we can just finish the legs off. You're going to want to spin these little pieces around, which is kind of a fun part of the transformation. Just like that. And they have a nice locking in position. And then we can bring out the feet. They have a nice click, and we have that classic staggered foot of an Optimus Prime, and those feet look amazing. Coming up to the top here, we can undo the top here, and this is where you always have that transformation where the shoulders go down and into the torso, but instead they kind of keep that same idea but just kind of alter it and make it new. They kind of reinvent it, you know. But you want to take this, pull this out, and then rotate it down, rotate it up here, and then bring it in, and then you just kind of compact it from being down here to up here while still filling in some of the side panels. So just do that again, kind of just accordion it to the right position, and then we can just bring this panel all the way down, and then bring this all the way up, and then rotate the entire waist around. And as you do that, it kind of fills in like the gap here. These little side panels come over and kind of mesh with the whole design of the back of the torso. And then we're pretty much done here. All we have to do is possibly raise the camera up just a bit, and then bring up the head and fold around the back. And there is Prime. Let's get him standing up here and I'll stand my heroic pose. And there he is next to the poster of, I think now that's Optimus Prime, just not in his final mode. But yeah, about the poster, I was given it at the theater, so we were given this and then a little keychain, and you could choose between the main 4 characters, obviously Bumblebee, Megatron, and Alita, and I chose Prime, of course, because Prime is the best, and I love him dearly. But coming in closely here, you can see he looks amazing. The proportions are a little bit chubbier, but I almost like it more because I just like how he is proportional. Just gives him a more heroic stance. Like any pose you put him in, he just looks like an Optimus Prime that's standing there heroically. So that is super nice. Now coming on the face here, it does look quite faithful. He does have the mouth plate over at the moment, but yes, you could always reference that. So definitely a little bit chubbier and a little wider of a face, but it still does the part just fine, and I do dig it. Coming around, we just have lots of details. There's the back view, side, front. On the bottom, we have hollow feet. On the top, you can see the butterfly joints and their awesome butterfly joint action. And that's basically it for the details here. Just a good look at them. For posability here, we have full 360 at the arm, although it is kind of hits a lot of stuff because there's just not quite enough clearance to make it a really smooth full rotation, but there is just enough to get around. And then it can go up quite far. That's pretty much all it can do. And then we have, of course, the butterfly joint, which you never get on Transformers, so it's super cool. And it kind of goes back, not really, it goes back so subtle, but it does help a little bit. You can get just slightly more dynamic poses. We have a upper thigh swivel, or not thigh, upper elbow swivel. We have a 90-degree bend at the elbow, and then a wrist swivel. And that is it for the arms. At the head is just a ball joint, and you can look up, squirrel, or have a nice flying pose. He's flying through. So also has a little rocker here, so you can get him to look down just slightly more. But if you need him to look up, he can look up. And just a little bit of wibble wobble to the sides, and just looking heroic. And then we also have the Matrix chamber that can open up, reveals the Matrix. And this is obviously a different one because you can see these little blue tabs on each side. This is definitely different Matrix than any of the others. I haven't tested if any others can fit or vice versa, but there is a reason why there's little clear tabs at the end, which I'll show off a bit later. We also have a waist swivel, and this piece. A lot of people do not like it, how it's like structured and it's a little weird. I, for one, absolutely adore it because you can bring it up and kind of make it look like he has an ab crunch. and kind of bring his legs up, you can make him look like he's an ab crunch. And if you kind of break it, I guess you could say, but undo the connection here, you can bring it up a bit and kind of give him look like he's crunching to the side, which I have used in many poses, especially if he's like swinging his Energon axe, which you can grab and put into his hand. You can kind of give like a real good stance here that just looks amazing, and it almost looks like he's got a side crunch, even though there's nothing really going on with the joint. It's just visually is that way, which is awesome. Which I haven't seen anyone really do this, but I think it looks really cool. And honestly, I think they should bring this kind of joint back with this armor piece in the front. Like, this is awesome because the way it's engineered is just so versatile and it can do whatever you want, and it completely gets out of the way if you need it to. And to get out of the way, it definitely does, because this thing can kick up very far forward, kicks out pretty good back, outwards for a ball joint. That's pretty damn good. And then we have a single jointed bend at the knee, which is over 90, which is all you can ask for with a single joint, and that is quite splendid. And we have an ankle rocker that pivots a good old 90 there, and nothing really can go forward at the toe, but you can get a downwards toe pivot, so that can give you some decent mobility in the air for giving some dynamic poses. As you might have seen one of my posts that I've made of the classic Transformers, classic Optimus Prime pose from the '86 movie. The gun I used was the Power of the Primes one, and I think I used like the smaller front half of the gun. And no, I didn't get it just now. I've had that for whenever that thing came out. I just thought it'd be funny to use that exact one because of the reissue. So, yeah, I do have that figure. It is decent, I'll give it that. But we're not talking about Power of the Primes, we're talking about Transformers 1. Also, right here, they painted this whole section right here, which is an homage to the little gas can that the G1 had, which I think is quite cool. I really do like this little paint job they did on this side. It really does bring that G1 feel together. And then we also have the graded thing here, which isn't fully painted because there's some details here of the part that isn't like fully encased. So it kind of feels a little weird, that detail. It looks like it's not finished. I feel like if they just would have like filled in this little gap right here, it would look a little more normal. That way it doesn't look like it's part of it. If it was just solid here, it would just look normal, but I don't know why, but there's a little gap there, and it bothers me just ever so slightly, which is kind of interesting. Now, we also have this piece, which can store on his back, and it just clips in like so. You can bring that down, and you can pretend it's like a little jetpack, which was very prominent in the movie, so I think that is a really cool nod. I don't know if that was just intentional to have it like this, or it was just coincidence that it looked like a jetpack. Either way, it's pretty cool. And now he's got a jetpack that he can fly with. It does come out very easily, but it will stay in there a-okay if you need it to. Now, for the final accessory, final gimmick, I guess you could say, you can open up that chest, take out that matrix, bring that chest back down, and there's where the butterfly joints come into play. You can bring these forward here, line up these fists, and then there's a little tab here that just goes into here, which is a little tricky because it doesn't really hold it. It just kind of sits in it, and it kind of wants to almost push it back out. But you can get them to hold the matrix of leadership, and of course you can orientate these shoulders looking better, but I don't really care right now. I'm just doing it for the review purpose. So you can have him saying "Tell all R1" or whatever Optimus Prime line you want him to have him say. So that looks cool. It does Optimus Prime things. So we can just take that out. And surprisingly, the other version of this guy also had that gimmick. It was done a little differently. I think he does it better for sure. Okay, and then we just put this back in here, which does look like a pretty nice matrix chamber. And there's some details on the back here you could definitely paint in, which could look pretty damn cool. And that's pretty much it for this guy. There's not really much else to say other than this figure is honestly perfect. I do wish eventually they'll come out with a better paint job that was more accurate to the actual animation. Now, I think the reason why they went with this is designed a lot earlier than a lot of the others, and they didn't have time to change the color of the plastic because they released some 3D models that looked very strikingly similar to this kind of hue on the colors. So I think they changed it and maybe tried to kind of justify it by giving it a metallic shine, which definitely does help. So that is my hypothesis behind that. And just have him in a heroic pose. And that's pretty much it for this guy. So yeah, this is an amazing figure. And if you've seen the movie, pick him up. If you haven't seen him, pick him up because you're going to want to pick him up after you watch the movie. There is nothing wrong with this guy. There's small little things that could have been better, but honestly, it is as good as we're going to get. I do not like the bigger one that Takara made. Those shoulder joints look way too flimsy. It's just a pin joint. I don't think that's going to hold up at all. And I honestly I really like the proportions of this guy. It may not be the most screen accurate, but as a toy, this is all I could ever ask for. The transformation is super fun. It is just a joy to play with. There's plenty of features. There's ways to get around poses. It's an Optimus Prime. I mean, come on. This is definitely one of the cooler Optimus Primes, and I can't wait to get my new Studio Series Optimus Prime and compare it to this guy just simply because I want to see which one I enjoy more, because do I enjoy a really hyper-articulated one or just one that's a solid figure? And that is based off of a new franchise. So I am excited for that 86. I have not gotten it yet. I've pre-ordered it off the Big Bad Toy Store. I'd highly recommend using that website. It is amazing, as many people have used it. But anyway, that has been it for my video review, and see you guys later. Peace out.